Hello children, this is for Form 5 Lower Human Biology, Unit 3. In this chapter, we are going to discuss about sensory receptors. And here, you will find out different kinds of sensory organs, mainly eye and the ear. Objectives. After learning this chapter, you should be able to fulfill following objectives. First one, to understand receptors of body that can detect the stimuli of light, sound, temperature, pressure and taste. And explain the structure and function of the eye. And understand defects of eye and treatments. And also to explain the structure and function of the ear and explain how prolonged exposure to loud noises affect the functioning of the ear. Here you can see the 5 senses of the body, or else they are the receptors of body: eyes, nose, ears, skin and tongue. Then we will talk about stimulus and response. So here, imagine you are walking along a road. Suddenly you see a football or something coming at a high speed towards to you. So what will happen? If your nerves are working properly, you will probably move away to avoid that contact. No? So here, in this example also, you can see how that person reacts to the ball. Somehow he tries to avoid that ball. So here you can see another example. In this example, the cricketer should not avoid that contact. He should definitely respond to that ball at correct time, no? So there's another example. So imagine you may have had that experience before. When you are very hungry, you smell a delicious food cooking. So what will happen? So your mouth might begin to secrete saliva. Now that's automatically happen. First we will look what is a stimulus. The stimulus is what? It is the change in a person's environment. And response is the reaction to that change. So here you can see the sequence of events in a coordination system. First, when we get a stimulus, it will inform to the receptor, and from that receptor it will do the coordination according to that, and it will bring that message to the effector, and effector will do the response. So receptors. Let's identify the function of receptors. The main role of any receptor is to detect stimulus by changing energy of that stimulus into electrical energy in nerve impulse. So, for example, eye converts light energy into nerve impulses, and ear converts sound energy into nerve impulses. So likewise, you can see how the other receptors also convert their energy into nerve impulses. So here eye, retina, converts light energy into nerve impulse, and then ear, sound energy to nerve impulses, and ear have another function also. Apart from hearing, it is responsible to balance also. So their mechanical or kinetic energy is converted into nerve impulse. And tongue, there are taste buds in tongue. So tongue converts chemical energy into nerve impulse. And nose, it is the organ responsible for the smell. So now converts chemical energy into nerve impulse. And skin can detect touch, pressure, pain, such kind of situations. So it can convert mechanical or kinetic energy into nerve impulse. And apart from that, skin can detect heat also. So temperature difference. So there skin can convert heat energy into nerve impulse. And then muscle has stretch receptors. So they are also mechanical energy. Kinetic energy is converted into nerve impulse. So now let's discuss about the eye. So many animals have eyes, but few animals have eyes as complex as human beings. So how we can see the world? Because of these eyes. So you should know that why human eye is so advanced. Now let us see why human eye is so advanced. So simple animals can detect light only. What who are the simple animals? Snail-like animals have simple eyes. So they can detect light only, but they cannot form a proper image. Others can form images but cannot recognize colors. But when it comes to human eye does all the three things. What are? Human eye can detect light, can form a proper image, and can recognize colors. Those three things can be done by human eye. So let's see the structure of eye. Eye is the organ which is responsible for sight. It is situated in the orbital cavity. And this eye can be compared to a camera. So what are the similarities you find in both in a camera and eye? Both gathers light and transform that into a picture. And both have lenses to focus the incoming light. So just as camera focuses that light onto a film, eye focuses light onto a specialized cell layer called retina and produce an image. So now let's see the parts of the eye, human eye. So there are some external parts also. We can see externally. So what are the eyelids and eyelashes? So what is the function of eyelids and eyelashes? They protect eye from foreign matter. Mainly eyelids protects eye from foreign matter such as dust and other dirty particles. and also it protects eye from entering bright light sources. So eyelashes also helpful to filter out the foreign matter getting into the eye. So it prevents those foreign matter to enter to the eye. So now let us discuss the interior parts of eye one by one. So first, the sclera. The sclera is white outer layer, outer region of eye. It protects the internal parts. It is made out from fibrous tissues and it continues with the cornea. So now let's see what's the cornea. Cornea is a transparent portion of eye which allows light to enter, and it is made out from transparent tissues. Then iris. So iris is a circular thin structure made up of contracting and relaxing muscles in the eye. It can control the size of the pupil and light reaching to retina, and it defines a person's eye color. So iris defines a person's eye color. So then pupil. What is pupil? It is the central opening of iris on the inside of the eye. So the pupil appears black in color. It allows light to reach the retina. And then lens. So lens is a biconvex transparent structure which present behind the pupil. So by changing the shape of lens, it can change the focal distance of the eye. So then the retina. Retina is a light sensitive tissue in the inner coat of the eye. It sends electrical signals after converting them from light to brain for processing. So this retina contains two types of light sensitive cells. What are those light sensitive cells present in retina? The rods and cones. So rods help for nighttime vision and cones help to see colors. Cone cells gives sharper image than rod cells. So both rod cells and cone cells are found throughout the retina, but cones are particularly concentrated at the center of the retina. There's a special name for that point. We call that it is fovea or yellow spot. And then the blind spot. So what is the blind spot? There optic nerves connect to the retina. It does not have light sensitive cells, so you cannot see anything there. And then choroid. It is the layer behind the retina. It contains blood vessels which nourishes the retina. Choroid contains blood vessels, so it nourishes the retina. Then the optic nerve. So it sends the electrical impulses from the retina to the brain. Optic nerve sends electrical impulses from the retina to brain. And apart from those things, there are two other structures also. One is ciliary muscle. You can see from this picture. Ciliary muscle, it is a ring of muscle which contracts and relaxes to change the shape of the lens. And then there's another structure called suspensory ligaments. It connects the ciliary muscle to the lens. So this is the summary of those structures and their function of the eye. So let's see about forming an image. So to form an image on the retina, light needs to be bent or refracted. So that refraction takes place when light passes from one medium to another of different densities. So in the eye, this happens first at the air cornea boundary, and this again happens at the lens. So cornea acts as the first lens of the eye. So as a result of this refraction, the image on the retina is formed. It is upside down or inverted. But brain interprets this image right way up. So let's see the role of iris. Iris, the main function is to control the amount of light entering into the eye by changing the size of the pupil. So iris contain two types of muscle. Circular muscle form a ring shape in the iris, and the radial muscles like the spokes of a wheel. So in bright light, the pupil is constricted. That means it narrows, and this happens because circular muscles contract and the radial muscles relax. At the dim light, the opposite happens. The radial muscles contract and the circular muscle relax. So this is called dilates or widening of the pupil. So then here you can see how it happens from this image. Here you can see iris reflex. So in this reflex, you can see the route from stimulus to response, how it goes down. So actually whenever our eyes look from a dim light to a bright one, what happens? The iris rapidly and automatically adjusts the pupil size. So this is an example for reflex action. So the purpose of this iris reflex is to make sure that light falling on the retina is at the right intensity, because light that is too bright could damage the rods and cones, and the light that is too dim would not form an image. So the intensity of light hitting on the retina is the stimulus for this reflex, and the impulses pass to the brain through the optic nerve and then straight back to the iris muscle. Then it will adjust the diameter of the pupil. So this all happens without our need of for conscious thought. No, so we are not even aware what happens inside the eye. So here you can see how iris reflection goes on. So now we will see why we have two eyes instead of one. So there are several advantages to having two eyes, such as it provides a wider field of view. So in addition, each eye forms a slightly different image of an object. The brain combines this information from each eye and giving a three-dimensional vision. So this allows us to judge the distance and depth of objects and to estimate the speed of moving objects more accurately. So you can experience this by doing this activity. So you can close one eye and ask a friend to hold a pencil horizontally in front of you. So about 50 centimeters away. So try to line up your finger with the end of the pencil without touching it. And now try the same thing with both eyes open. So you will find out it is harder to do this using only one eye. So here those are the advantages having two eyes. So then accommodation. Accommodation is what? The changes that take place in the eye to see objects at different distances. The changes that take place in the eye to see objects at different distances. So when your eye is focused on a distant object, what will happen? The rays of light from the object are almost parallel when they reach to the cornea. So cornea refracts the rays, but the lens does not need to refract them much more to focus that light on retina. So that means lens does not need to be very convex. So ciliary muscles, reflex and pressure in the eye pushes outwards on the lens and flattening it and stretching the suspensory ligaments. So this is what happens when you see a object which is far away. So now let's see what happens when you focus an object which is nearby. So for example, when you read a book, the light rays from that object are spreading out or diverging when they enter to the eye. So in this situation, the lens has to be more convex in order to refract the rays enough to focus them on the retina. So ciliary muscles, now what happens? They contract. The sensory ligaments become slack and therefore the lens become more convex shape. So here from this picture you can see what happened really. Then defects of vision. So before that, can you imagine this situation? Every day you see different types of things around you, beautiful things around you. You observe them and sometimes you analyze them. So what happens if you cannot observe them as they are? What happens? So you might definitely feel very uncomfortable because you cannot observe those things as they are in real. So these defects related to vision mainly occur due to the problems in accommodation mechanism. So there are different types of defects of vision. So let us identify those one by one. First we will see what is long sight. Actually, a long-sighted person has difficulty in focusing on nearby objects. For example, when you are going to read a book, you may feel this condition. So it happens due to many reasons. Sometimes if the lens is not convex enough, or if the eyeball is too short, this can be happen. This is happened because the light focused beyond the retina. So you should know how this fault can be corrected. The method of correction. If you wear or use convex lenses or glasses that converge the light rays before they enter to the eye, you can focus that light on the retina. So then, short sight. So what do you mean by short sight? A short-sighted person has problems in focusing on distant objects. So this can be happen due to many reasons. One is if the lens is too convex, or if the eyeball is too long, then the light focused short of retina. So this fault can be corrected by using concave lenses which diverge the light rays before they enter to the eye. And then astigmatism. Actually, astigmatism is not a disease. It is a defect in the eye that causes a blurred vision. So there are two types of astigmatism. First one is regular astigmatism and the other one is irregular astigmatism. So in regular astigmatism, what happens? The surface of the cornea or lens is not perfectly spherical shape like a football in one direction only. So actually this can be corrected by wearing glass or contact lenses. So regular astigmatism can be corrected. But when it comes to irregular astigmatism, the curvature of the surface of the cornea or lens is uneven in more than one direction. So this condition cannot be corrected by wearing glass or contact lenses. So in this cataracts, what happens? The lens of eye becomes cloudy and opaque, so that person is unable to see. So it cannot be corrected with glasses or contact lenses, and this can only be treated by surgery. So surgeon opens up the front of the eye and removes the affected lens and replace it with an artificial lens. So definitely the patient will be able to see again, but they will need to wear glasses. So transplants. So when a cornea is diseased or damaged by an injury, it is possible to carry out a corneal transplant. So this disease cornea can be removed from the patient and replaced with a cornea taken from a donor. And these corneal transplants are generally highly successful ones, and majority results in restored vision. Um, so now let us see about ear. So ear is the organ which is responsible for hearing, and also it is involved in balance also. So structure of ear. So the ear is divided into three parts: outer ear, middle ear, and inner ear. So outer ear collects sound waves and directs them to the middle ear, and middle ear transforms the vibrating motion of the eardrum into motion of steps. So inner ear convert them into nerve impulses and transmit to the hearing area in the cerebral cortex. So here let us identify the structure of ear. So actually our auditory system is extremely complex one. So if we consider about our ear, it has three main parts, which are the outer ear, middle ear, and the inner ear. So outer ear consists of an auricle, ear canal, and eardrum. So then the middle ear, actually it's a small air-filled space containing three tiny bones called malleus, incus, and stapes. But collectively those are called as ear vesicles. So malleus connect to the eardrum, linking it to the outer ear, and stapes, which is the smallest bone in the body, it connects to the inner ear. So inner ear has both hearing and balance organs. The hearing part of the inner ear and is called cochlea. So it comes from the Greek word for snail because of its distinctive coil shape. So cochlea contains thousands of sensory cells called hair cells. It is connected to the central hearing system by auditory nerve. So cochlea is filled with special fluids which are important to processing of hearing. So apart from that, there you can see eustachian tube also. So here you can see how inner ear detects sounds. The pathway how inner ear detects the sounds. So first sound waves enter to the ear, which cause in eardrums to vibrate. So these vibrations are passed across ear vesicles and through oval window, and then vibrations pass along outer canal of cochlea, and then vibrations stimulate sensory cells in organ of cavity, and then sensory cells will send these nerve impulses to brain via auditory nerve, and finally vibrations pass along length of outer canal and through round window. So that's the way here you can see a cross section through cochlea. So the organ of cavity is located in the membrane between the middle and outer canals, and the receptor cells in the organ of cavity have sensory hairs embedded in the second membrane. So the vibrations of oval window are transmitted to the fluid in outer canal which cause the sensory hair to be stretched, and then the receptor cells respond by producing nerve impulses in the receptor neurons. So in this way, sound is converted into nerve impulses. So round window vibrates with the opposite phase to vibrations entering the inner ear through oval window, and actually this allows for pressure changes between the middle ear and the cochlea. So brain determines frequency or the pitch of sound by detecting which hair cells are being stimulated, and those nearest oval window are sensitive to high frequency sounds, while the nearest round window are sensitive to lower frequency sounds. So the loudness of sound is determined by the amplitude of the vibration of the hair cells. So loud sounds produce high amplitude vibrations, and it results in more nerve impulses per second in the sensory neurons. So normally uh, normally due to our human ear is most sensitive to frequencies around 4000 hertz, but due to the nature of cells in the cochlea, they can detect the sounds in between around 20 to 20,000 hertz. So here you can see how ear acts as an organ of balance. So there are semicircular canals as well as sacculus and utriculus, which are the parts which responsible of ear with the sense of balance. So in the swellings at the end of these semicircular canals, there are more hair cells. So with their hairs embedded in a jelly-like mass called a cupula. So the movement of fluid in the semicircular canals causes cupula to pull on the hair cells, which stimulates them to send nerve impulses to brain. So the canals are arranged in three planes at right angles to each other. So they can detect movement any direction. The sacculus and utriculus also contain hair cells. Their hairs are embedded in a jelly containing calcium carbonate crystals called otolith. So the weight of otolith pulls on the hairs, stimulating hair cells and producing nerve impulses. So this gives information to the brain about the position of head. So here we will look how loud noise can damage to the ear. So every day we experience sound in our environment, such as noise from traffic, machines, and people talking. So normally the sounds are at safe levels that don't damage our hearing. But loud sounds, especially if they are long lasting, can be very harmful to the ears. So they can damage the sensitive structures within the ear. So it produces a condition known as noise induced hearing loss, or NIHL. So if a person exposed to very loud noise such as explosion. This can rupture or tear the eardrum or damage the delicate bones in the inner cell. So although ear can recover from this, so exposure to loud noise for longer period can cause temporary deafness. So it may also cause a ringing or buzzing sound in the ears called tinnitus. Actually, many people exposed to moderately loud or very loud noise, um, loud noises. So it may cause permanently hearing loss, but many people don't know about their results. So actually, the intensity of sound is measured in units called decibels. So even after long-term exposure of sounds less than 75 decibels are actually not cause a hearing loss, but however, long periods of exposure to sounds above 85 decibels can permanently make damage to ears. So about this noise induced hearing loss or NIHL. So it is caused by damage to the delicate hair cells in the inner ear. So this is actually a gradual process. When it starts to happen, the person may not notice. So even they may ignore the signs of hearing loss also until they become worse. So over time, sounds become distorted or can be muffled. So the person may struggle to follow conversations. So or have to turn up the volume on their television. So actually this condition NIHL is completely preventable one. So what you all need is to avoid exposure to sounds over 85 decibels. So if you are taking part an activity that involves loud noises, you should wear earplugs or ear protectors. Now we have already learned about the stimulus and response and also the receptors and the structure of eye and structure of ear. So now at the end of this chapter you can answer the chapter questions. So I hope you have get more knowledge from this video. Very much for listening to this video.